Oh yes, yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I was feeling good, and I had a little bit of time to kill and spare. I was really feeling passionate. Got my on my scientist steez. You know what I'm saying? So I really want to talk about more about science and African people within the constructs of science. Let's know that scientists are the first scientists are African people, and we have to have a sense of science in when it comes to nature, right? So any person saying anything bad about nature or nature's not important, the hell with climate change doesn't mean anything, and all this other nonsense, knowing that this is a person that is not in tune with nature and they are not African. You know, we are people, we love Africa so much and we forget about the things that we hold dear to Africa is that Africa sustained us. Africa right now currently sustains the world. You go back even to Roman times when Rome controlled North Africa, it said that Africa is the bread basket of Rome. In other words, it means that Africa pretty much feeds Rome. And even up to this day, if you look at my avatar right here, you have cocoa. You have this brother and this sister right here. They're harvesting cocoa, right? Most of the cocoa comes from Africa. You want to get some real good cocoa, right? It's coming from Africa or it's coming from South America. That's why I laugh every time I hear people when people advertise the Europeans advertise. Oh, you want some Swiss chocolate? I'm like, Swiss chocolate. What the hell is Swiss chocolate? You can't hardly anything grows in Sweden, and whatever grows in Sweden is only going to be for a short season because they're all the way up there by the Arctic Circle. You can't grow cocoa. Cocoa is a tropical plant. You can't grow cocoa. Oh, what you mean is that a bunch of pale Europeans, right, go to Africa. Hopefully, their skin can endure the sun. They don't get cancer, and they get the cocoa from the Africans that harvested, and they just put their label on African cocoa, calling it Swiss chocolate. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that we as Africans always knows that the land itself sustains us. That we need that land more than it needs us. So we have to pay respect and reverence for that land. So this is all about climate change and why Black African people need to be concerned with anything that affects their environment, internally or externally. Right. So already there was already I think a couple years ago there was droughts already in I believe it was in South Africa or whatever, and it hurt what farming. So you got South Africa being affected, Zimbabwe being affected. You have all these places being affected where they can no longer was having a hard time sustaining itself. You know, Africa doesn't have like us seasons like we have here back in the West. So if you're in Europe or the United States, it's not a season. It's not like, oh, winter, spring, summer, and fall. No, they have rainy seasons, right? And they have dry seasons. So if they if they don't get anything out of if a rainy season and the harvest is bad or whatever during the dry season, then they have famine, right? But when the rainy season is good and it's plentiful, you plant your seeds and stuff like that. You know, you get a good harvest. So anyway, I'm saying that just to set the tone, just to prove to you that African spirituality goes right and goes inside with nature. There's no such thing as nature without African spirituality, right? So no one should be talking ill or anti-nature or anti-science because we are the first scientists. So I'm gonna share my screen and have a scientist tell you what's the deal when it comes to climate change, when it comes to nature. Um, don't want to get too political, but when you have people that are saying that climate change is not real. These are pretty much white European people with a money goal attached to it, or they're Negro minions that will just pretty much repeat the same thing. They will never get a scientist to debunk what all other scientists are saying about climate change. All they do is just deny it. Scientists will show you the proof, show you the evidence, show you that, hey, look, this is a real thing, and here is our proof. Here is all the research that we've done, and we all came to the same conclusion that this is not weather, this is climate change, right? And the climate is changing because of the things that mankind is doing. So I'm just gonna share my screen here for a bit so you can see it. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I know. All right, so we're gonna have a world famous black scientist tell it.
Manabe and his colleague, Richard Weatherall, predicted how the temperature of the planet would change as a function of the increased greenhouse gases humans pumped into the atmosphere. The scientists foresaw precisely how the looming catastrophe would unfold. They saw far into our own time and beyond.
Now peep that time scale. It's like 1967. It's 1967, right? 1967. They predicted this. Hold on a second, right? And that's the thing, the beautiful thing I like about science. Once you have a proven methodology of getting answers and things like that, then you could apply it to today, and you could get, understand certain trends, you understand certain patterns, and then you get to and then you could predict what's going to happen if a particular thing continues or discontinues. That's the thing that's amazing about science. You ever heard of the what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things and getting the same results. Getting the same results. That's pretty much a scientific methodology. Doing the same thing, doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's just crazy. Like, no, okay, we got this result. We know what it is. So now we have to change it and see if we're looking for a different result. We have to change it if we want a different result. Right? So to continue.
They saw far into our own time and beyond.
1967.
Some people still claim the science is unsettled. But if that's so, how was it possible for Manabe and Weatherall to correctly predict the rise in Earth's temperature across more than 50 years? And if it wasn't caused by us, where was all that carbon dioxide coming from? The larger community of climate scientists predicted heightened flooding of coastal cities. Check. The mass death of coral reefs by ocean warming. Check. The increase in intensity of catastrophic storms. Check. Lethal heat waves, droughts, and runaway wildfires of unprecedented magnitude. Check. The scientists warned us. What about your future? Your life, little one? Your first day of kindergarten was postponed until the thermometer dropped below the lethal temperature level. The wildfires came. Your family was forced to flee. nothing for your childhood home.
I apologize. I forgot to do my disclaimer for this. I'm just sharing this. I call fair use on this. I'm just sharing this for educational purposes. I'm not getting any money or or endorsements for me showing this. This is strictly for educational purposes only.
Water was the champagne at your wedding. This doesn't have to be. It's not too late. There's another hallway, another future we can still have. I promise to get you there.
Yeah, so there's that. So the man came with proof and evidence of climate change that man predicted it because we understood the science and nature of climate change, right? The white man understands this, right? Understand what the African man understood. The white man just developed more tools. Well, due to the transatlantic slave trade and other things, it kind of halted African technology and African science. But African science is a part of our life, is a part of our understanding. And Professor James Small is going to let us know.
When you think of voodoo, voodoo is not a religion. It is not a theocracy. It is a total way of life that involves the medicine, that involves the spiritual, that involves the pharmacology, that involves...
It involves medicine. Where does medicine come from, though? How do we know what medicine does what? Medicine comes from plants, right? Herbal medicines, which doesn't matter. Medicine periods are all herbal medicines. Any other medicine would be like some type of synthetic or be made in a lab. But all medicines come from plants.
Of the psychology that involve the
and certain elements of the earth.
Sociology, all of these things are interrelated into one system that we call voodoo. And it has many different elements and many different levels of priesthood that do the many different functions. A priest is nothing more than a scientist who's a practitioner and who's a specialist in one area or another.
A scientist, a priest, a shaman, these are sciences. These are men that studied nature and understand what nature is. That's how they get the medicine. That's how they know what to cure for certain ailments that you may have as a person. They understand that. So they revere and respect nature because they understand that nature is a manifestation of the creator, right? Is a manifestation of the creator, right? So climate, anything about climate change is extremely important, especially to everybody on the planet, but especially to the African. I'll let Professor Smalls continue.
Today in the West, what they call them scientists is what we once called priests back in the early days. Okay. And so you may have, there's an element of voodoo that deals with surgery. There's an element that deals with pharmacology. There's an element that deals with psychology. I'll just give you a sense of understanding. There's three major orishas that everybody in the West know about. They know about Shango. They know about Oya. They know about Ogun. And so there's the whole Ogun is the god of war, the god of iron. And Oya is the goddess of wind. And Shango is the god of lightning and thunder. But those are anthropomorphic symbols with metaphoric labels. If you look at the essence of what they were to symbolize in the human spirit and in nature itself, Shango in the human spirit symbolizes the courage within a human being that recognizes the need for higher spiritual growth. And once that is realized, that you have the courage, which they looked at a king as being the most courageous in society. So the courage to change yourself spiritually requires great courage.
Yeah, this is from Sonetta Studios. Really do look at his channel. He has a lot of greats. He has a lot of heavy hitters on his channel. Whatever. Sa, don't flag me. We met. I know you're not gonna remember me, but we met before. You cool dude. Yeah. Please tune in to Sonetta TV. Sa, just see this as free advertising, free publicity. Sa. All right.
And so Shango is to symbolize the courage within any human being to change themselves to a higher spiritual self. But to do that, once you realize the need for change, you got to do something. You've got to marry change in process. Oya, the female symbol, which represents the wind, which is a symbol of metaphoric change, then marries Shango. So now the need for change has married the process of change. But
change, something that African people are able to do. Yeah, change. That's something that we're able to do instead of being stuck on stupid on an ideology that's not African at all. Being stuck on anti-African things and not realize being anti-African. So that's what our brothers said, right? So here we're going to go into some other things. What Aminism is. So Aminism is a study. So right here. So this is a Wikipedia version. I'll do another version. Animism builds the core concept of traditional African religions. This includes the worship of tutelary deities, nature worship, ancestor worship, and the belief in an afterlife. While some religions adopt pantheistic worldview, most follow a polytheistic system with various gods, spirits, and other supernatural beings. So like Christianity, they'll say it will be monotheism, but it's a really polytheistic religion because you have what? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Those are supposed to be three things in one. That makes no sense, right? Mathematically, that makes no sense, right? Because you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. These are three things, but they say, oh, these three things is really one. But if you're going to talk about Vodun, right, and the Orishas, right, and what we did in Africa, especially what we did in Kemet, oh, that's polytheistic. Oh, that's evil. That's evil. But when y'all do it, it's not. It's totally ridiculous, right? So that's one. Another one would be Nut and Geb, which is deities, right? So what's Nut and Geb? Nut had a strong relationship with Geb, her twin brother, as well as Thoth, which I go by, or Dijuhiti, the god of scribes and wisdom, which is me. Symbolically, she was the goddess of the sky, and Geb was the god of the earth. In the morning, they were separated, but at night they came together, which created the darkness. This is a story of the ancient Kemetic used to explain the 365-day calendar, right? So they had to sit there and observe, have observations as of to explain the world around them, right? To explain why the world the way it is. Not I feel and I don't know, what verse in the Bible and the Quran it says that. Not those garbage bastardizations of what nature is. Because Islam, Christianity, the Hebrew faith, all those are just bastardizations of spirituality. They're low forms of spirituality, right? So you have here, the little images you have here of what Newton gives. So you got the sky and you got the earth. These two things are intertwined, right? These two things are intertwined. So it's basically talking about the female aspect and the male aspect. Why? Because in nature, we know man and woman are two separate things, but we are one. We need each other, right? That's when you look at the Ankh and everything like that. The Ankh represents life. It represents fertility. It represents male-female union. It represents bonding, right? So the Ankh is a very strong symbol that we have. So I'm not going to make it real quick. I really was just passionate about how we, as supposedly African people, how we view nature. We have to have an idealistic view of what nature is, because we depend on nature, right? We adore nature. We know nature is what sustains us, and we only got to that point mentally because we understand what it is from a scientific perspective, from an African perspective. So I'm only saying this so you guys can have a completely understand. So when anything to do with the environment, it doesn't even have to be about climate change. Anything to do with the environment, impeding the environment, because you're not one person that lives in the environment. We are a groups of people that are on the earth that have to share space with people. So anyone talking about the environment, please, if you do something to combat, climate change, please do. Please do. And hey, just if you're a science head like me, please learn more. But always challenge people who is coming from a bias and an unscientific standpoint, right? So that's all I wanted to say. Again, thanks for listening. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. And like I said, all the videos that I have here are for just learning purposes only. Maybe I need to do the disclaimer again. I think maybe I need to do the disclaimer again, just in case they try to flag me or whatever and da. So, like I said, this is for. Oh, whoa! What you doing? Yeah, there I go. This is for learning purposes only. Learning purposes only. Learning purposes only. All right. Fair use, fair use. All right. I think I got it. That should be it. All right, y'all. Again, thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, definitely comment on anything that you want me to do. Anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. Peace. Enjoy.